Hello and welcome to Indus News, live from Islamabad. I am Muneeb Hamid with the news of the South. Let's begin with the headlines first. Pakistan's President Arif Alvi says minorities are feeling isolated and scared under the BJP rule in India. He took to Twitter to share a video of Hindu extremists vandalizing a mosque in Madhya Pradesh. They also damaged nearby houses and several vehicles while Muslims were offering prayers. In India, the Samajwadi Party leaders say the Narendra Modi government is working in the interest of corporations and is not bothered about the farmers protesting in the cold weather. Meanwhile, farmer unions are holding the sixth round of talks with the government, but the farmers say they don't think a solution will be reached even today. European Union chiefs Ursula von der Leyen and Charles Michel have signed the post-Brexit trade deals in Brussels. The documents will be sent to London for British Prime Minister Boris Johnson to sign later today. Meanwhile, Johnson has opened the House of Commons debate before parliamentarians vote on the deal. He told lawmakers London will now control its laws, land and waters and forge a new relationship with Europe. At least 10 people have been killed and dozens wounded in an attack on Aden Airport. Security officials say 3 mortar shells landed on the airport's hall. The attack comes soon after the arrival of a plane carrying Yemeni government officials from Saudi Arabia. The United Kingdom has approved the Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine for use. Meanwhile, the US reported its highest deaths in a single day with more than 3,700 fatalities. The country also detected the first known case of a highly infectious strain linked to the Britain virus. In Pakistan, the virus claims 55 lives and infected more than 2,100 overnight. The nationwide death toll has crossed 10,000 with more than 477,000 cases. Globally, there are more than 81 million infections and 1.78 million fatalities. And in cricket, New Zealand beat Pakistan by 101 runs in the first test at Bay Oval in Mount Maunganui. The visitors were bowled out at 271 in the second innings while chasing a target of 373 runs. Fawad Alam made a comeback to Test cricket after a gap of 10 years with a century. Alam and Mohammad Rizwan added an impressive partnership of 140 runs in 52 overs. These were the headlines. News in detail after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now let's have the news in detail. We'll start from Pakistan, whose President Arif Alvi says minorities are feeling isolated and scared under the BJP rule in India. In a tweet, he said Narendra Modi's policies are aimed at the saffronization of India. He also shared a video of Hindu extremists vandalizing a mosque in Madhya Pradesh. They also damaged nearby houses and several vehicles while Muslims were offering prayers. The state has seen a similar incident 3 days ago when a BJP rally chanted slogans leading to stone pelting. Pakistan has repeatedly urged the United Nations and other human rights organizations to ensure safety of Muslims in India. In India, the Samajwadi Party leaders say the Narendra Modi government is working in the interest of corporations and is not bothered about the farmers protesting in the cold weather. Workers of the opposition party met farmers and extended support against the 3 new laws being forced on them. Meanwhile, farmer unions are due to hold the sixth round of talks with the government, but leaders say they don't think a solution will be reached even today and demand repeal of the laws. For over a month now, farmers have camped on Delhi borders against the agricultural reforms. Now, European Union chiefs Ursula von der Leyen and Charles Michel have signed the post-Brexit trade deal in Brussels. The documents will be sent to London for British Prime Minister Boris Johnson to sign later today. Johnson says the trade deal is not a rupture but a resolution of the UK-EU relations. He has urged member parliamentarians to back the legislation that will put it into law. London intends to pass the EU Future Relationship Bill through Parliament at a breakneck speed today. The agreement is set to provisionally enter into force on the 1st of January. The United States says it will not be held to nuclear blackmail by Iran. In a tweet, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said that Iran has sown terror threatening US and its allies. But he said British President Donald Trump's administration did not accept the status quo and reimposed sanctions, initiating a campaign of maximum pressure. Meanwhile, Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif said the US will be responsible for any adventurism in the region. He was talking to his Qatari counterpart Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani in a phone conversation. This comes after the US Navy announced the arrival of a nuclear-powered submarine in the Persian Gulf. Moving on, at least 5 people have been killed and dozens wounded in an attack on Aden Airport. The security officials say 3 mortar shells landed on the airport's hall. The attack comes soon after the arrival of a plane carrying Yemeni government officials from Saudi Arabia. The cabinet members, including Prime Minister Ma'in Abdul Malik, was transferred safely to the city's presidential palace. The southern port city of Aden has been mired in violence due to a rift between the separatists and President Abdul Rabbu Mansour Hadi's government. The Saudi-led coalition announced earlier this month the new power-sharing cabinet would include the separatists. Meanwhile, 2 Saudi soldiers have been killed near the kingdom's border with Yemen. Saudi state media said the soldiers were on duty in the Najran region in the south of the country. However, it has not reported the ranks of slain soldiers or details and circumstances of their deaths. Meanwhile, a Najran official has offered condolences to the families of the dead soldiers. A total number of soldiers killed at the border in December has risen to 9. Yemen's Houthi rebels routinely attack Saudi targets along the shared border by launching missile attacks on bordering cities. Now in Syria, 1 person has killed and 3 others injured in Israeli rocket attacks on the outskirts of the capital, Damascus. Syrian state media says the rockets from the northern Galilee region targeted troops stationed near al-Zabadani city. It said the Syrian air defense unit in the Nabi Habil area also came under fire. State media added that the Syrian air defense countered some of the rockets. The aerial aggression has caused some material damage. Israel's airstrikes in Syria have escalated in recent weeks as it conducted a similar attack in Hama province on Christmas Eve. In Pakistan, the death toll from COVID-19 has crossed 10,000 with more than 477,000 cases. The country reported 55 fatalities and over 2,100 infections overnight. Health officials say there are more than 37,000 active cases in the country. The Health Ministry says more than 430,000 people have recovered. It says over 213,000 cases have been detected in the Sindh province. Punjab has reported over 137,000 cases. In the capital, Islamabad, over 37,000 people have been infected so far. The United Kingdom has approved the Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine for use. Meanwhile, the US reported its highest deaths in a single day with more than 3,700 fatalities. The country also detected the first known case of a highly infectious strain linked to Britain. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, the virus claimed 55 lives and infected more than 2,100 people overnight. The nationwide death toll has crossed 10,000 with more than 477,000 cases. Globally, there are more than 81 million infections and 1.78 million fatalities. This report has more details.
Tighter restrictions seem to be the first and the last reprieve in the face of unabated rise in COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations worldwide. The Canadian province of Quebec has urged the federal government to mandate virus testing for residents returning from vacation. Deaths in Latin America and the Caribbean topped 500,000 amid fear that holiday festivities will bring in more infections. In the U.S. COVID-19 hotspot California, strict stay-at-home orders have been renewed indefinitely. Criticizing the current administration's vaccination program, President-elect Joe Biden warned it can take years before the bulk of Americans receive the necessary shots.
We need to be honest. The next few weeks and months are going to be very tough, a very tough period for our nation, maybe the toughest during this entire pandemic. I know it's hard to hear, but it's the truth. The Trump administration's plan to distribute vaccines is falling behind, far behind.
The European Union announced to buy an extra 100 million doses of Pfizer vaccine. Following a drastic spike in new infections, Denmark has extended a hard lockdown until January 17th. A study has found that the new variant linked to UK does not cause more severe illness than other variants. However, the UK reported its highest daily infections with over 53,000 new cases. Meanwhile, another research has found that the new strain existed in Italy as early as August. Australia has tightened curbs in Sydney to avoid a super spreader event during the New Year Eve celebration.
So if I can stress again, the strongest message to everybody across New South Wales, no matter where you are, is please limit your activity and your mobility. We appreciate it's a time of year when people feel they need to be with others, but please try and limit what you do. Please stay at home or make sure you are in a safe setting.
While South Korea is negotiating with Moderna to procure over 40 million vaccine doses as authorities scramble to contain a cluster at a Seoul prison. Inmates waved signs through barred windows pleading for help. In the meantime, China has reported 24 new cases, including 7 locally transmitted on the mainland.
More news coming up in this bulletin after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, in the United States, President Donald Trump's push for $2,000 stimulus checks has stalled in the Senate. Republicans blocked a swift vote proposed by the Democrats, splitting within their ranks. McConnell tied larger checks with 2 other demands from the president, which most Democrats oppose. In a rare challenge to Trump, McConnell urged senators to override the presidential veto of defense bill. In a tweet, Trump asked the Senate to approve increased relief payments at the earliest. The Senate is set to get back at the issue today. Now, Turkish soldiers have arrived in Azerbaijan's Nagorno-Karabakh region for the ceasefire monitoring mission. In a teleconference, Defense Minister Hulusi Akar said the soldiers will join Russian forces in the area. Akar said a Turkish army general and 35 officers will take office after the joint monitoring center becomes operational. Turkish parliament approved the law to send its peacekeepers for 1 year. This was part of an accord between Ankara and Moscow. Now, Pakistan has rejected allegations of institutionalized forced conversions in the country. In a statement, the Foreign Office said non-state actors were behind forced conversions. Spokesperson Zahid Hafiz Chaudhry said the accusations aim to malign Pakistan internationally. He said India tries to discredit nations it has conflicts with, particularly Pakistan. The Foreign Office spokesperson cited the example of the report by Brussels-based EU Disinfo Lab. He said the Constitution protects the minorities and the state becomes a party to the case against the perpetrators. Chaudhry said the National Commission for Minorities has been set up and the national policy of interfaith harmony is in process. The Pakistan Navy has successfully conducted tests of the surface-to-air missiles. Chief of the Naval Staff, Admiral Amjad Khan Niazi, observed the drills. Niazi commended the Pakistan Navy's operational capabilities and war preparations. He said that any aggression will be given a befitting response by the fleet. He said officers are ever ready to defend maritime boundaries and naval installations of the country. Now, at least 7 people have been killed and more than 20 injured after a 6.4 magnitude earthquake struck central Croatia. It was a second earthquake to strike the area in 2 days, with tremors reported across the Balkans and as far away as Hungary. The quake hit at a depth of 10 kilometers with the epicenter in Petrinja, 50 kilometers south of the capital, Zagreb. Petrinja mayor says half of the town had been grounded in the aftermath. On a visit to Petrinja, Prime Minister Andrej Plenković asked the authorities to move some people as the town was no longer safe. The powerful earthquake cut phone and power lines and sent Croatians into a state of shock. Rescue officials say the search through the rubble is still underway. Now, in Russia, state investigators have opened a new criminal case against Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny. The investigative committee accused him of fraudulently spending public donations up to $4.81 million. In a statement, the body said he used them to buy goods and services and cover expenses such as overseas trips. In a tweet, Navalny termed the case as fabricated, saying it was a hysterical action ordered by Vladimir Putin. He added that authorities will seek to jail him after failing to kill him. But Moscow says Navalny is free to return to home, something he says he plans to do. Now, Argentina has become the first Latin American country to legalize abortion. The law finally passed by the Senate allows women to end pregnancies up to the 14th week. The fiercely contentious 38-29 vote came after a marathon debate in the Senate. The ruling could set the tone for a wider shift in conservative Latin America amid growing calls for reproductive rights for women. The influential Roman Catholic Church had called on senators to reject the proposal. Until now, Argentine law allowed abortion only when there was a serious risk to the mother's health or in cases of rape. As the result was read out, a crowd of thousands erupted in cheers outside the Senate building in Buenos Aires.
It is approved with 38 affirmative votes, 29 negative and 1 abstention. It is approved. It becomes law and is sent to the executive.
Now moving to Ethiopia, where at least 97,000 people have fled after gunmen massacred over 200 civilians in the western Benishangul Gumuz region. The Ministry of Peace says some 50,000 are staying at a makeshift camp in Tana Beles district, while another 40,000 internally displaced persons took shelter at a camp in the RV zone of Amhara region. Gunmen carried out ethnic-based attacks in Ethiopia's Metekel zone while people were asleep. The zone has come under the direct command of the Ethiopian military since the attacks. Earlier, federal troops deployed to the area said they intensified law enforcement measures and killed nearly 50 militants. In the United States state of Tennessee, a police report revealed that the girlfriend of the Nashville blast suspect told police last year he was making bombs. According to the report, police officers met her on August 21st, 2019. The report says police visited Anthony Warner's home but found no evidence of the crime. It said the officers who responded to the call notified their superior within the police department. It quotes a police spokesperson saying they had forwarded the incident report and Warner's information to the FBI. The FBI said it found no records on Warner after receiving a police request on August 22nd. Before these revelations, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation had said the suspect was not on their radar. Now, Chinese hotels are preparing to house a flow of visitors as the year-end celebrations draw near. China is among the few countries that have able to successfully handle the pandemic. This report has details.
As 2021 comes upon us, celebrations around the world have been restricted, but hotels in China are facing a surge of bookings from around the country ahead of New Year's Eve. Travel influencer Gugu is looking for a room at a new upscale hotel located in popular district of Shanghai. Gu warns that rooms at this hotel and elsewhere are booking up fast. Also popular for the holiday season in China are hot spring hotel rooms.
On December 31st, or the New Year's Eve, all our best rooms with a panoramic view of the Bund have already been booked out. Room reservations with river views are also particularly good. We expect our occupancy rate will reach 100% on December 31st, New Year's Eve.
Data from a Chinese travel platform shows bookings have increased around New Year's Day compared to the same period last year.
In business stories, European stocks are trading slightly higher amid more positive vaccine news in the region. London's FTSE 100 is edged up marginally. European stock 600 opened just above the flat line. The CAC 40 in Paris and Italy's FTSE may have also edged up marginally. However, Frankfurt's DAX bent the trend and slipped below the flat line. Earlier Asian bourses traded mixed, with the mainland Chinese, Hong Kong and South Korea's shares gaining. Now, Bitcoin has hit a record high of $28,599.99. The rise has taken gains this year past 295% amid increased demand from bigger investors. World's most popular cryptocurrency was last up 3.7% at $28,375. Bitcoin has surged nearly half since crossing $20,000 mark on December 16. It has increasingly seen demand due to its inflation hedging qualities and the potential for quick gains. Expectations of Bitcoin becoming a mainstream payment method also contributed to its heightened demand. And in cricket, New Zealand beat Pakistan by 101 runs in the first test at Bay Oval in Mount Maunganui. The Greens were bowled out at 271 in the second innings while chasing a target of 373 runs. Tailenders Shaheen Afridi and Naseem Shah blocked for 7 overs before Naseem was bowled by spinner Michelle Santner, ending Pakistan's resistance. Fawad Alam made a comeback to Test cricket after a gap of 10 years with a century. Alam and Mohammad Rizwan added an impressive partnership of 140 runs in 52 overs. The second match of the series is slated for 3rd of January at Hagley Oval in Christchurch. And in the Spanish La Liga, Barcelona felt the absence of Lionel Messi as they were held to a 1-1 draw by struggling Eibar Martin. Braithwaite failed to put Barca in the lead when he missed a penalty in the first half. Striker Kike Garcia then put Eibar in the driving seat with a 57th minute lead, stunning the host. Barca equalised 10 minutes later with forward Ousmane Dembele steering in a first-time shot. Braithwaite again had a chance to win it for the hosts, but bundled wide from close range. The point leaves Barcelona 6th in La Liga, while Eibar are 14th, 2 points clear of the relegation zone. Manchester United beat Wolverhampton Wanderers 1-0 in their Premier League face-off. Forward Marcus Rashford scores United's winner deep in stoppage time. The win over Wolves moves United to second place on the league table with 30 points. In another contest, Arsenal edged Brighton 1-0, recording its back-to-back league wins. Striker Alexandra scored in 29 seconds after coming in on as second-half substitute. The Gunners have moved to the 13th spot in the league, while Brighton slipped to 17th. Meanwhile, Leeds United hammered West Bromwich Albion 5-0, ascending to 11th place with 23 points. Now in tennis, Frenchman Jo-Wilfried Tsonga has withdrawn from the 2021 Australian Open due to a lower back injury. Tsonga announced his pullout from the competition in a social media post. The 35-year-old said Australian Open was compromised despite having made great progress. Tsonga expressed hope to step into the tennis court soon. He has not played since retiring from his first-round match against Alexei Popyrin at Melbourne Park in January. Swiss star Roger Federer also pulled out earlier this week amid recovery from 2 knee operations. 2021's first Grand Slam was being delayed by 3 weeks and will start on the 8th of February. The challenging sport of boxing and the complex web of law have very little in common. But a Kenyan lawyer has combined his passion for the sport with lessons on the law to bring justice to the slums. This report has details.
Growing up in Nairobi's slums, 29-year-old Shadrach Wembui vented his frustration at abusive police through boxing. It taught him discipline, which helped him avoid confrontations that could have derailed his studies. Now he is turning to the sport again to help young people in poor Nairobi neighborhoods.
I find it very easy combining being a boxer and being a lawyer, because on one field, on one end, I fight for people's causes, I fight for people's lives, I fight for people's livelihoods, I fight for people's inheritance. I fight for people's lives, literally speaking. When you're representing people who, upon conviction, might get a sentence of up to death, so you realize that you're fighting for people's lives.
Demands from police for bribes and more serious offenses by officers such as assaults or killings are common in Nairobi's slums. Wambui aims to counter that by educating the youth on their rights with instructions on what to do if a policeman asks for a bribe.
Through the hands of the police officers, we lost livelihoods and we also lost loved ones. So I grew up knowing that I wanted to be counter these police officers. But really the idea of becoming a lawyer, I learned of it in class 8 and class 7. That there was this profession known as the legal practitioners or the legal profession, that if you enroll in it, it will help you in championing your cause. So that is how I now embarked on my journey to becoming an advocate.
Kenyan police have dismissed complaints of brutality, saying violent crime requires a violent response. If police's heavy-handed methods are anything to go by, Wambui's role in the community has become ever so important.
And now let's have a look at the weather updates. That is all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.